What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. So today's video we are focusing on AG, on the changes, talking about my opinions, my thoughts. We're going to completely overanalyze this and just have a lot of fun today. So a couple disclaimers. First of all, this is of course my opinion. Some of it is, based in logic, and some of it is inferred based on things that, we can prove. But that being said, at the end of the day, it is my opinion, and not everything that I say is going to be true. And if it's not your opinion, that's totally fine. Go ahead and leave in the comments down below if you agree with me or if you want to talk about it. But at the end of the day, everyone has opinions, everyone has thoughts on this, and I'm going to try to just portray my thoughts in the best way possible. And yeah, like I said, if you don't agree, that's totally fine. No one has to agree with me, I don't care. Anyway, so the other disclaimer is that this video is probably going to be really long, so if you guys don't want to watch the whole thing, which I totally get, or you want to break it up into sections and not sit here forever and kind of want to watch it in a few different parts, I will kind of put like timestamps in like the actual video down below so you guys can see the sections and what I'm talking about in each one so you guys can watch it at your leisure. Anyway, leisure or leisure? I've never really known which one I like better. I feel like I would say leisure, but then leisure just came out, and I feel like that's like British or something. I don't know. Anyway, sorry, getting distracted. Anyway, let's go ahead and start talking about AG and all the changes they're making. So something I want to kind of say here is I'm not only going to be looking at this from the perspective of an adult collector, but I'm also going to be looking at this from AG's perspective, because I can definitely see why they've made some of these changes, and I can see where their head's at. Even the stuff I don't agree with, I can see why they came to that conclusion. That being said, not only have I been collecting dolls for 17 years, but I also have had an AG tube channel for 3 years now, and I have quite a bit of analytics based on like who's watched my videos, and obviously not everyone that collects AG watches YouTube, but what I can say is that I've seen a really high turnover rate in people that watch my videos because they grow out of dolls. So that's been something that I've really thought about and kind of added to this video, because I think it's relevant in kind of like the case of how long do people actually collect versus like collectors, like what does that look like, how much long term are people spending on dolls, like who's better to invest in. I don't know guys, this is going to be really, like I said, really overanalyzing. Obviously no one's really done a deep dive into this like professionally, like no one's done statistics on collecting AG, so all of this stuff is just my theories, but it's still really fun and I like to talk about it. So anyway, the first thing we're going to talk about today is the age demographic for AG, because I find it really interesting. So AG's main demographic is ages 8 to 12. That's who they target mostly for their 18-inch dolls, and because of that, they focus primarily on making them happy, which makes so much sense, obviously. So you have a lot of things geared towards younger kids. We've got clothes that are really pink, we've got stuff that's just kind of very bright, colorful, very childlike. Sorry guys if you heard that notification, I don't know. But yeah, everything's kind of like geared towards that younger audience, which in turn makes a lot of sense because that is who they're, advertising to. That being said, obviously their long-term audience, the audience that comes back time and time again, primarily those people are over the age of 18. The people that spend a lot of money on dolls over and over again, those people are older. Now obviously the majority of people on this planet of Earth do not collect American Girl, so it makes sense that they're basically targeting who is going to grow into their dolls, the predictable market. That being said, the people that spend the most money over the course of their life are obviously going to be serious collectors who have several dolls. And it's interesting because I kind of did something, I don't know, it's obvious, but I never really put it together before. So let's just think like this. So there's 1,000 kids, right? So 1,000 kids who are interested in AG at one point in their lives. Most kids that are into it are likely going to get 1 to 2 dolls. So let's just say on the low end, there's 1,000 kids, they each get 1 doll. American Girl sold 1,000 dolls. Now on the other side of it, you have adult collectors who, the majority of them, let's just go on lowball because we know that adult collectors are kind of insane and get tons of dolls like me. But let's just say each adult collector gets 1 to 2 dolls per year for 10 years. So on the low end, that's 10 dolls for an adult collector for 10 years. So you're gonna hit exactly the same amount of money off of 100 collectors over the course of 10 years than 1,000 kids in their entire lifetime. Which, I mean, obviously those numbers, like, they could fluctuate, whatever. And a lot of kids end up getting accessory packs and things that AG adult collectors don't usually buy, like the cars, the houses, the airplane set, all that stuff, which is why AG continues to make that kind of stuff, because obviously their core audience is really into the play sets and ways to like use their dolls in exciting ways. But I'm just thinking like very basic, and the majority of adult collectors are going to get way more than that. So I understand that American Girl is not just looking at 1,000 kids, but we're looking at a really interesting number of people who really are obsessed with AG to the point where we're buying over many, many years versus kids who maybe like grow out of it after a year. You know, they come in, and that also leads me to my next point because it's very interesting when I looked at it from that headspace. So if you're looking at it from the space of American Girl, who the majority of their people that buy dolls are only going to be into their dolls for 1 to 2 years. That explains a lot as far as quality control, okay? Because if you don't know anything about AG and you're coming into it for the very first time, you're not going to know that before the bodies were thicker. You're not going to know that before they didn't have painted on eyelashes, and you're not going to know that before the clothes were better quality. You're not going to know about the zip ties versus neckties. You're not going to know about the eye quality or how the eyes look down or that the hair feels different. You're not going to know any of that because you didn't collect before. So the majority of the people that are buying their dolls don't have any like preconceived notions of what they even sell. So of course it makes sense to cut corners and spend less money if the majority of the people that buy their stuff are not even going to know the difference. Of course they're going to do that. But they do hit a roadblock here because they know that they have collectors who know what their quality was like before, which is why they kind of try to appease us with things like Claudie, where they kind of outdo themselves. They put a lot of effort into it. They try to do something that kind of like hits to us, you know, something that's relevant, something we asked for. And I know that like we're all going to collect regardless. There's probably going to be Truly Me's that I'm going to buy because there are some really cute ones. But, you know, the thing is, they never really face harsh consequences for anything they do because at the end of the day, the people that are long-term collectors like me, we're loyal. And that means that even though that they make, you know, bad decisions sometimes, usually eventually I'm gonna come back because I, you know, really like their product and I want more of it. And that's why I keep coming back, even if I don't necessarily agree with all the things that they do. So it's a really interesting kind of thing to look at. So another thing that I want to talk about is the kind of nostalgia that goes along with AG, because while it seems like they don't really pick up on that because they are so keen on like advancing their products and making something new, I do know that they know that because they've done really obvious things to imply that they really understand the importance of that, like releasing the 35th anniversary re-release dolls. They know that a lot of people are adults now who have kids and who want to bring the kids into AG to learn what they learned, and a lot of those adults really were only a part of AG when it was, you know, historicals, when they could learn about Samantha and Molly and like the history behind it, which is why AG existed in the first place. So they want to come back and bring their kids to that, which is why we saw so much success with this 35th anniversary re-release. People were so excited to get their hands on dolls that reminded them of when they were a kid to give to their own kids. So that's why we also see things like AG re-releasing Molly after so many years, because they always need something that reminds adults coming back into AG for their kids of like the importance of what AG was to them. If they come back and there's absolutely nothing from their childhood, they're not as likely to be like, hey, let's get into this. They want to feel something familiar, which AG knows. They're smart. They see this and they connect the dots and they say, you know what? We always need at least 1 or 2 things that remind adults of their childhood, so they want their kids to have the same experience. So of course we have Molly, we still have Samantha, we've got Kaya, who kind of like isn't as old but definitely ties into that age. We also see that they still have DVDs for all of the historicals, so if you were really into Felicity, they've got that DVD, they've got the books, they've got all the stuff that really relates to that, so that people are more drawn in and more likely to spend money even after, you know, 20 years of not collecting, bringing their new kid into something. The next thing I really want to talk about is the colored hair and custom options. So about 10 years ago, if we're gonna like round up, American Girl had no options for like customizing dolls. They didn't have the create your own line. They didn't have any dolls with colored hair. They really didn't have anything. 10 years ago, they hadn't even released Isabel yet. So it had been like, there was really nothing for that. And that led to people getting creative, people who were collectors customizing their dolls, you know, putting in different eyes, getting new wigs, like doing things to make the doll feel their own. And because AG is owned by Mattel, it was only a matter of time before they said, hey, we want in on that. We don't want you doing all this stuff without any of our stuff. Like, we want you to pay for that, right? So they started adding create your owns. They started doing like dabbling in colored hair. You saw with Isabel, she had a piece. You could take it out, you could put it back in. And they did that because they didn't want you to feel like little kids had to have colored hair. It was an option for Isabel. But since then, they have definitely changed their tune quite a lot. They focus a lot on colored hair. They moved into Luciana, who had a purple streak, and from there it only got more intense. The recent Truly Me releases, at least half of them have at least part of their hair has colored hair in it. Like, it's rainbow, it's colored, it's blue, purple, pink, you know, whatever it is. Now, the thing I don't understand though, and I really don't think I ever will, is why they decided to add eyelashes to all of these dolls. When we just thought it was a few dolls, it was kind of interesting, right? It's like a new kind of interesting feature for dolls to have. But now that every doll they've released in the last year has eyelashes, that lets me know that's the direction that they're going in, and I don't understand that because they're aiming at little kids who don't wear makeup. If their whole brand is about trying to like empower kids and make kids happy with who they are and like feel good about themselves and like the way they are, why are you telling them they need to wear makeup? So that leads me to believe that AG is trying to kind of like connect to the older audience through the eyelashes because they know about like the kind of like very made up customs, which is not what we're asking for. We don't want that. We want to have the option. The reason why customs are exciting is because you can make those choices and we can like kind of leave the average doll. If the average doll is made up, there's no point in making a custom. There's no point in having anything exciting because you have everything already top notch. Like, not even top notch. Top notch would imply that it's good, and it's not. I don't like it. I feel like eyelashes every once in a while, very cute, right? Eyelashes on every doll, I don't understand and it doesn't make sense. And on top of that, I just feel like it's just not smart for them long term. And the thing I really don't understand is that it's owned by Mattel, and Mattel is known primarily for owning Barbie. Barbie had a huge problem for the longest time with promoting like an unrealistic body. Like, that was the whole thing with Barbie. No one could understand, like, her proportions were not correct. It looked crazy. People thought that they could look like that and they can't, and it's not healthy. And now they're taking dolls geared towards 8-year-olds and trying to make them look like they're constantly wearing makeup. Like I said, I don't hate the makeup. I don't think it's terrible on some dolls, but it's just not right if they are truly gearing towards those 8-year-olds. Don't tell them you have to wear makeup. If you're not wearing mascara, you don't look like your doll. Like, you want those kids to wear mascara and feel like they have to in order to look right. Like, that's exactly what we're trying to get away from. You're trying to make kids feel good about who they are, and if you're aiming for kids and not adult collectors, you should have known that. So I'm not sure if they're trying to kind of like find that middle ground between both adult collectors and kids, but they're flip-flopping it. If they're doing that, they should aim towards natural looking dolls with customizable features, like create your own. And the last thing that I really want to talk about here is the fact that they retired all of the old Truly Me's when they released the new ones. Now, this is a huge red flag for me. I'm going to tell you why. First of all, they released some of them. Like, we have 85, 84, like 83 in some sort of variation with Marie Grace mold. But the thing is, it's basically like they released those dolls, the only addition to them were eyelashes. Which again, we come back to that main point. But the thing is, I don't understand why they retired all the old dolls, because what that tells me is that AG is very, very focused now on not being able to give kids the option of buying a doll that looks like them unless they spend the extra money to create your own. And we already know they've made like very strong efforts to make it very hard for new customizers to make a custom doll. They've switched to zip ties. I've noticed an increase of create your own dolls created that I know were like basically super close to Truly Me's that were available 5-10 years ago, that people just don't have the option of buying anymore, so they have to create it for $200, which I just think is slimy and gross. Like, you had dolls that fit just about everyone, and that was kind of the direction that I was hoping AG was going, but now I feel like it's getting into more like fantasy, fantastical, kind of like looking dolls with bright hair, dolls that are more like fictional than look like real people. And I mean, I guess that's like an interesting concept, and it's a cool line if they did it on its own, but the fact that they're retiring all of the dolls that look like real kids to replace them with these dolls, I just can't really understand why that's the course of action that they chose, because I'm thinking that whoever's making these design choices, I don't know why they're doing it. I can see it from their side. I understand that they see kids want bright unicorn colors and like pretty stuff, but that's not what everyone wants, and it's not what a lot of the kids are looking for, because at the end of the day, the majority of kids that I grew up with when I was a kid, their first doll was a look-alike doll. And that's, I feel like, what a lot of kids want. They want to see themselves in their doll. And it's weird to me that they're taking that option away. That being said, this is just an overall commentary on AG. There are some new Truly Me's that I like. I will be ranking all the new Truly Me's in my next video and really doing a deep dive into that and talking about what I like versus what I don't, and I'll let you guys know which one I plan to order. And of course I'll still buy from AG. I'm still a very hardcore collector that'll probably last through basically any change they make, with a few exceptions, but I really don't think they're ever going to get that intense. So that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you guys have any thoughts on this, I'd love to hear them, because there was just something about this release that sparked like this very interested, like, I don't know, I was just very into figuring out why they would do this and thinking about it in their headspace and getting into that and thinking like, why does this make sense versus why do I think it'll probably not go well long term, which is how I feel about the majority of like their decisions, like contemporary dolls per se. So I don't know, I just feel like it's very interesting. I want to hear your thoughts. If you guys have any thoughts on this, please feel free to comment down below. Obviously, not everyone's going to feel the same way I do, but I'm interested to know what you guys think. So I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I will see you guys all in the next video. Make sure to subscribe and join the family, and like this video, leave a comment down below. I am super close to 3,000 subscribers. When I hit that milestone, I will be doing officially my giveaway. So I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye guys!